Good afternoon. Today is November 24th, 2018. We are here in Tokyo and comparing Japanese and European culture.
Do you remember how many times you made a presentation for this?
I made a lot. A lot. So that's why I'm just going to because actually, if
no, it's okay.
Right.
I'm enjoying.
Right. Okay, but I think we should finish this and move on to the next to the recommendations. Otherwise, we will get stuck. So basically, I'm going to quickly recap the gaps that I identify between Japan and Europe, and then we're going to move on to the recommendations. And I'm sure we will have a discussion about the recommendations as we had about education and how we can change it and adapt it. So the gaps, these are, well, rather straightforward, but let's quickly recap them. First of all, obviously, Europe is a continent with different countries, different peoples, different languages, where throughout history there has been a lot of movement. People were moving, mixing. It's said that Europe is kind of a melting pot with different cultures, different languages, different backgrounds. And of course, with a melting pot comes conflict. That means that Europe has a history of war, and but there are also there's also a history of trade, for example, trade between different people. So basically, there's a constant interaction, and there are constant sources of conflict and instability. That's the I think the key word for Europe. It's constantly changing. People are changing. People are moving, and it's constantly changing. So Europe is not stable, and it has a history of instability. They are trying to create more stability by increasing the interdependence through the euro and the EU, trying to create more stability, but well, looking at its state today, we cannot really say that it's very successful, because it's very unpopular. People do not feel more a citizen of a country than they feel a citizen of Europe. They actually feel that they have lost power and it's taken over by bureaucrats who are far from efficient and effective. So there is a kind of a movement of disengagement. Europe is being blamed for that. I'm not really sure whether it's just Europe or whether it's really globalization that people are against. They don't feel that Europe is particularly successful. But on the other hand, we didn't have a war in Europe besides the conflict in former Yugoslavia, but that was not an EU member. So in that respect, we can say that Europe has brought EU has brought stability to Europe. But I mean, looking at the culture, we should look at the past, and key here is instability. Japan, on the other hand, is a country of stability. It's an island, of course. It has a very long, 2,500 year long period of an imperial family that reigned over Japan. Of course, there has been conflict, but it's much more stable than Europe. Another gap a gap is basically the argumentation models and logic that underlie Western thinking that we have inherited from the Greeks, the Greek philosophers, that is different from the consensus and holistic approach in Japan. These are generalizations, but basically, if people in Japan are looking for the truth, they are trying to build consensus, trying to find common ground, and they look at the reality in a holistic sense. What does holistic mean? Basically, it's an integral view. It's a complete view. Whereas in Western side, it is an abstract way of thinking. So we like to simplify things and make models out of reality to get a grasp on its essence. In Japan, you don't do that. So basically, if people from Japan are discussing with people from Europe, it's very, very likely that they have a completely different perception of reality. Western side tends to abstract, tries to substitute the reality with a model, and that model becomes leading. Whereas on the Japanese side, you take the entire reality, as complex as it is, and you accept the fact that there are different angles and different viewpoints. There can be things like parallel truths, because it depends on the angle from which you are looking at the reality, where this is something that is a very difficult concept in Western society. So, but this is definitely a gap between Japan and Europe. A thing they have in common, I believe, that is apart from philosophy, we also have a very strong tradition in Christianity. And Christianity, where Europe has a Christian history, and the way that Christianity works is basically we are being told how to live, what we should do, what we should not do, in order to be eligible to go to heaven. So basically, Christianity is describing a path that you should walk. It doesn't really ask the same questions as philosophy, the why questions. Why is this? Why is that? No. It answers the question, how? How should we live? So, how should we? What should we do? What should we not do? This is comparable with Confucianism, I believe. Whereas also Confucianism is also a path that we should follow in order to become gentlemen, in order to become leaders, in order to become a good person. We have to follow a certain path. So this path thinking is something that both Japanese and Europeans have in common. The difference. No, this
Christianity and Confucianism. What a different concept of those.
Well, basically, I believe that Christianity puts God as an external body, right? So that's somebody who is you are not God, right? But Confucianism is focused on finding yourself, on getting closer to yourself, developing yourself. So it is a different path. But you could say that basically, as some people claim, like for example, we were talking about Eckhart Tolle. Basically, he says, okay, you can find peace within yourself if you live in the moment, if you live in the here and now, you can find peace. So basically, the path should be towards finding yourself.